Hi everyone, this is Zereth. More specifically, this is Zereth off duty. I'm off lab duty currently for the time being, so there's no lab attire, there's no safety tip of the day, just be careful out there. And yeah, I'm working on a video about the 3DS situation, and it's taking ages, and real life gets in the way. And for those of you who don't know about it, real life is that thing that happens offline. Like when your doctor calls you and tells you to go see him because he wants to talk about results of a certain test. And he's got good news and bad news. And the good news is he's figured out the reason why you got headaches, why you're forgetting things, why your hands are shaky. And the bad news is the actual reason for those things to happen. Yeah, and I'm not saying that's what happened to me. I'm just giving you a random example of how real life can get in the way. So that video about the 3DS situation, it's taking ages, and I wanted to tell you something apart from that video, and I don't want to wait until that video is made. So I just came here, I grabbed some devices and stuff to tell you about the thing I want to tell you. And there's no script, there are no notes, it will be me rambling. So if that's not the kind of video you like, see you next time, be well. And for those of you who are staying with me, thank you, first of all. And for me to properly tell you what I want to tell you, I think it would be fair for you to have a better understanding of my situation, meaning, first of all, why I'm making these videos. And I'm making these videos for this, because of this. And this is a 3D printed part that I've designed and made myself. There's EVA foam here and a bit of EVA foam here and here, so it won't slip away. So this piece goes in here, and this is a phone grip that has no name, has no brand, it's inexpensive, comes from China, and it's advertised as working with switch and switch light. Yeah, it does work with switch light, and this round part here is good for switch light. So this piece comes here. Okay. And now this is a bag that is meant for ebooks. It's not 16 by 9, it's about 4 by 3 approximately. And I've got no ebook here, okay? I do keep reading regularly, about 1 or 2 books a week, because I'm a weirdo. Modern people don't seem to read. And here we have a capacitive pen, stylus, whatever, to which I have added a grip for it to be more comfortable to use, and a silicone cap so I won't accidentally activate it, and a silicone tip here, soft and nice, because I'm not using it as a capacitive pen but a resistive pen, with this device that I've got in the ebook bag, which you might have already recognized. It's a 2DS. Okay, and this 2DS goes in here, okay, and the curvature, the round part here, works well with 2DS, even if it didn't have the TPU cover on, but it has a TPU cover, and it's extremely comfortable. And question time. Have you ever seen anyone, apart from myself, telling you this stuff? About the ebook bag, about the switch grip, about the pen that works extremely well with both the glass digitizers and the plastic digitizers. It doesn't scratch them as long as there's no sand or dust on it. It works great. It even doesn't sound. Well, not much. Sound is way more muffled than the regular stylus. the hard one. That's the point I'm making these videos. Same with the video I made about the R46H and friends. I try to provide useful information, and if it's useful for you, then it's valuable, because you can put it to use if you so choose. That's up to you. But if you don't know about it, yeah, I try things, I do things, I experiment, and sometimes it goes well, sometimes it doesn't, and I share with you this stuff, so perhaps you will find some value, some use in whatever you see here. So yeah, this stuff is the reason I make these videos. I try to help, I try to give back, because I have learned lots of stuff from random people from the internet, from their failures, from their successes. Some of those guys even made operating systems for these devices, and I love some of those operating systems, some others I don't. Personal preferences, and I appreciate the effort they put into those things. The information, the operating systems, the help. And this is me trying to give back, not exactly to each person from whom I have learned anything, but for anyone who happens to find these videos and learn something from whatever you might see or hear. And I used to be a game developer. Yeah, not really anymore. I have several personal projects, but I don't have much time to put into them. So, yeah, my first game, the first game I made it on an MSX2 computer back in the day. And yeah, I've got not a game I made, but one of those games. This one is from 1986, NightShade. And this is not a game for kids. No. Inside the cover there's text, and it tells about the contents, the world of the game. And it talks about demons and reanimated corpses and torn flesh, dripping blood. Not for kids. And it wasn't even a cartridge. It came on tape. Those were all the times. All the times. And I dare you, I double dare you to play this game, because I turned this cassette tape into a sound file, and that sound file into a ROM. And I put that ROM not just here in this device. I have copied all over the place, and many other MSX games I still have, and the tapes are still readable. Not all of them are, but most of them. And I want to show you something about this game, okay? So please bear with me. I have set up this game as integer scale over scale, because this screen is 1024 by 768, and this game's resolution, as with many other MSX games, is 256 wide, 212 tall. And I've set up the L2 button as number 3 and R2 button as 0, and the game will start. Get ready. I'm not going to play, just showing you. You turn in place, you advance, and you try to escape the monsters and step on those round things. In this case, there are many types of things you can use as ammunition. You gotta step on them to collect them and then shoot them. That's a monster. That jelly, I think you would call it a slime. Whoa, and there's no working back. I always forget. if I have spent some time without playing the game. That would be it. Looking at these graphics, perhaps you wouldn't think this is scary, this is thrilling. It really is, especially given the motion, the control scheme. You have to turn and then advance. See? I will turn now and shoot, and I kill the flame, and I will try and find more ammunition. And just so you know, depending on the type of ammunition, you should add the type of monster. The monster might multiply, it might mutate, or it might die. And you don't know what will happen. Yeah, I got hit. I dare you to play this game. I dare you to complete this game. You may even try using a guide or something. Back in the day, these graphics were great. I told you before I'm using integer scale overscale because there were two black bars, top and bottom, and I'm not losing a single pixel. And it looks great, and these graphics run great on the 3326 and many other devices. I'll shut it down. And my point is, there's no ray tracing needed, because back in the day we saw this and our brains did the rest. We had something called imagination. The monsters were scary. A monster running after you was thrilling. There were no difficulty settings here. There is no DLC. There are no microtransactions. It is what it is. Full game, complete, without bugs, hopefully, mostly. There were games with bugs back in the day, but you polished the game as much as you could because there was no chance for patching. There was no concept of patching games back then. And those games are vastly superior to modern games. Story, ambience, game world, characters, controls, engagement, dedication, both from the developers who made those games and from the players, because if you want to finish this game, you're going to die a lot. You're going to try and draw a map of the town, city, whatever you want to call it, you're playing in, and wherever you find something and you die, you want to return there and see if that something is still there and you can pick it up. It's not a game for a single sitting. It's not a game that you will get bored of in 5 minutes and perhaps a DLC will fix it. It's not a game in which you will purchase a skin for your character and show off to your friends and online random people. That's what people do these days, I hear. Anyway. So that mindset is being lost, and companies making games are not even making decisions. In some of those companies, the decisions are being made by investors, by funds that have invested in those companies, and they want accessibility settings, and some call the difficulty settings accessibility, and they want a pause button in Elden Ring. My God, makes no sense. And they want special types of characters that players can choose that have certain representation, and you've seen the little guy here. If you have a modicum of imagination, you can see yourself in that character. And it doesn't need to be one color or another, or one size or another, or have bulges in some places and not other places, there's no need for that. Because you can enjoy this game without any of that. And what's worse, modern games require a lot of power. And nowadays, there's the storage situation with SSDs and memory chips, the RAM situation, and there's the AI situation that is linked to the two previous situations I've just mentioned. And then there's a graphics card situation, and graphics cards need memory and are also used for AI, so all these things are linked. And some of you might have realized, some of you might not, there are companies that are looking forward to the collapse of home computing so they can sell you and me subscription services. You don't need a computer with 16 gigs of RAM at home. You can pay us a comfortable, even cheap subscription every month so you can stream your games or use our online word processor or that kind of stuff, image editing stuff and video making stuff with a thin client. Some of you won't even know what a thin client is. Think of a computer that's barely a computer and it's meant to connect to a mainframe or a server and have the remote service do stuff and show it to you on your screen. Some of us don't have great internet all the time. Some of us will push back. Some of us already have in the past when situations such as this started showing up like mushrooms. Yeah. And I think it's time for you to maybe do something about it. Maybe. You need your help. If I were to tell you I need your help, you would think, hold on, what's he going to ask of me? What does he want from me? What does he want me to do? And you would not perceive any benefit in that. That's you doing something for me or giving something to me. I could also say, we need your help. And who's we? Is we in the room with us? Even if that's an inclusive we, and by that I mean a we that includes you. No. For me to properly communicate these ideas I have in my mind, the best way I can say it is you need your help. We're all in a situation that is becoming uncomfortable and probably more serious by the day. And we got to do something about it with this device situation. I told you before, if we complain, if we speak up, if we maybe refuse to buy devices from these guys and tell them, we're not buying devices from you because you did this, you better fix it. We have a modicum of power. Maybe not much, but if there's enough of us, that multiplies. It's not additive, it's multiplicative. And I'm kind of sorry for people making new games nowadays. I mean, I'm off that industry for the time being. I miss some things, I don't miss others. And having someone breathing on your neck so you make this and not that, but you also have to do it the right way, and you don't know the right way. You need to be educated on what the right way of doing things is, and you need to report it, and you need to write a report on the report you're gonna make instead of writing code, making storyboards, designing stuff, testing, trying. No, instead of doing your job, most of your time is spent on meaningless meetings that only justify the job of managers. That is modern gaming studios right now. They receive orders from investors, and they get a lot of people to tell a tiny amount of people what to make, how to make it, and why they are always wrong. Been there, done that. Not anymore. But there's also another kind of developers. For example, there's Mike Yamato. You might have not heard of him, but he made a wonderful game for the Game Boy systems. It's called 2021 Moonscape. It's not an old game, it's not from the 90s. It's from several years ago. And you can buy it online for about $9, I think. Have you heard of a game called Zephyr's Pass? Maybe you've heard of a game called Goodboy Galaxy. There are developers nowadays making games for older systems, and those older systems can run beautifully on these devices. You yourself could be making games using Pico 8 or TIC-80, which is another fantasy console which I actually like more than Pico 8. It's a different flavor, and I enjoy TIC-80's flavor more than I enjoy Pico 8's flavor. That's personal taste. And you might have never heard of TIC-80. And what about GB Studio? You could go download GB Studio and make games for Game Boy yourself. Or NESmaker. You can purchase their tool and make games for the NES. Those are good systems. I mean, both the original hardware, the emulated hardware, and the tools for making games. Nowadays it's a breeze compared to back in the day. You don't need to learn assembly code. No. You don't need to memorize memory addresses. Pun not intended. Yeah. You can do games. You can make games. And there's people out there making good games for older systems and for modern systems too. There's lots of indie developers who share these values. Make a good game, make a full game, make it complete. Do not think of player retention, think of player enjoyment. And if you think about pricing, this device here, the RG34XXSP with local shipping to Spain, this one's 65 euros today. I checked it before. And if you were to buy a 3D printed grip from Boxing House, recommended, it would be 16 euros. And a brand new SD card, call it 64 gigs, for example, that's 12 euros. So 12 plus 16 plus 65, I think that's 93, maybe. How many modern games can you buy with 93 euros? And then there's the DLC, there's the Battle Pass, there's skins. There's no point and there's no end. How many indie games could you buy with 93 euros? That's a different story. Even if you go without a grip. Even if you just use the included SD card, 65 euros. Yeah, you can't even buy a full new Switch 2 game with 65 euros, can you? They're going for 80 nowadays. That's disgraceful. What about this one? I bought this one for under 40 euros. How many GBA games could you play with this device? How many PlayStation games? How many WonderSwan games? And I know, WonderSwan's not that popular, and this device plays WonderSwan beautifully. not just GBA. And yeah, it does play Pokemon Mini too, but yeah. Guys, if you have been waiting for a certain game to be available in the near future and your current graphics card doesn't cut it, and your motherboard cannot accept a newer graphics card, you need to buy a brand new computer. And yeah, that brand new game might be 120 euros, because that's what these big companies are trying to set as a standard price. 180, well, we'll get to 120 eventually. And then you gotta spend what, 2,000 euros in a brand new computer that can actually run that game? Are you gonna pay 2,120 euros to play one modern game? I'm not, and I don't care how long I might have been waiting for that game to happen. No, not me. What about you? And how about, instead of playing that game that has DLC, Battle Pass, microtransactions, extras, hidden costs, player retention in mind, so you have to go back and forth and spend more time doing something so they can say they got this many players and the campaign or that mission lasts X amount of hours as selling points, not taking into account 90% of that is wasted time, padding. I hate that. Instead of that, how about playing games that respect our time, respect our values? And I'm not meaning about morals or... No, I mean as gamers, as players, as customers. Games that respect our time, games that we can enjoy, because they have been made for us to enjoy. They have not been made for us to spend time on the game and spend more money while in the game. I despise that. These games could be the salvation for a whole generation, because people think we are spending less money on games. And it's not actually that. It's just we're not spending as much money as certain companies do expect us to spend money. I mean, we're spending our money differently. We're more choosy, we're more picky, we're elsewhere. We're not in the AAA scope. There might be exceptions. A certain Expedition comes to mind. A certain Elden Ring comes to mind. But, yeah, that's 2 games. This is 3,045 games I got in this one. Handpicked, selected, and 1,023 here, 539 here, and this one's got lots of them. I forgot how many I got in here, because there's GBA, there are ports, there's... So, quality, quantity. I mean, I handpick which games I put into my devices, and I do play them when I can. But back to you need your help. You might remember several years ago there was a resurgence of vinyl discs, and audiophiles started appearing like they had been there all the time, but that's not really the case. It was kind of a trend. And then there was the Discman, and there was the Walkman resurgence. I recently saw someone with a real Walkman walking down the street with wired headphones. Yeah, kind of retro. Then how about we make these devices mainstream? Yeah, you and I. Recently, I was playing this in public, and a random guy saw me and came talk to me and asked me if this was a Game Boy Advance, because it looked weird from afar, and I told him it wasn't. I told him this device was better than a Game Boy Advance, and I showed him, and his eyes sparkled, and he asked me where he could buy one, and I told him, and I pointed him to certain online video channels you might think of. Yeah, it was nice. How about you do something like that? How about we show these devices to our friends or family and have everyone involved in this hobby? Perhaps some game developers will take notice. Perhaps some game developers will think of the ports, or keep making games for older platforms that we can emulate and sell them for reasonable prices. Perhaps that will keep us from suffering the worst of the memory and storage and AI storm that's coming to get us. We can find refuge here, and we can find joy here with these devices, through these devices. And we can share that joy with people we like and even random strangers. That's another reason I'm making these videos, because if I despise this, I wouldn't be sharing it. If I despise the hobby, the devices, if I felt bad about it, I wouldn't be telling you, hey, you can improve this device with switch light buttons, and you can play WonderSwan here, and the way I play here is I configure the X buttons here and the Y buttons here, or the other way around. I don't remember right now, but I don't use L2 and R2. I use L1 for A, no, L1 for B and R1 for A, and it's a joy to play WonderSwan like that in that device. And I'm trying to share the good. I'm trying to help if I can. I'm trying to make the world a better place. And I cannot do that alone. So I'm trying to help you. How about you help you? Because I said it before, you need your help. Let's try and improve the situation. Let's try and make these devices mainstream. Let's try and help modern day developers. They can learn more than a thing or two from those who came before, even if they are retired, even if they are relegated to an underground lab. You might have heard of someone like that, maybe. Anyway, I think that will be all for today. I hope it was not too rambly for your taste, and hope you'll tune in for the next one. Hopefully it will be the 3DS one, finally. In the meantime, be well.